We are back and we're going to switch it up. We spent so much time discussing the small business owner because it is what we talk about here at HouJack Digital Marketing Solutions. However, we also talk about careers in general, because not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. So we're going to switch it up. And today, starting this conversation, these next set of conversations, we're going to talk about the job hunt, and we want to discuss today the very first thing. Okay, not the first, but definitely something you should do before your next job hunt. Let's get into it. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to HouJack DMS Live Learning. I am Gwendolyn G.R. Houston Jack. I am the career coach here at this amazing establishment. And today I want to talk about careers because when I see what's on the news, I get a little agitated. I'm not going to lie to you. I get just a smidge agitated because the way that people talk about those of us who are working in any capacity, one would believe that we are slackers, that we don't want to work, that we're asking for more than what we should ask for. Here's the deal. People want to work. People find value in working. People also want an environment that allows them to do their work, but also pays them what they are worth. That is not asking for too much. Not even close. Not even close. So today I want to share just a little bit of what you may want to focus on before your next job hunt. If you are in the position of looking for a new job, a new career, making a change, I want to talk about a couple of things. So here's the three things we're going to talk about in these say this lunchtime kind of thing. One is to know your numbers, because business owners need to know their cost of doing business. You should also do the same before you start your job hunt. Once you know your numbers, you got to do the math. Salaries look great until you actually do the math. Confirm that you are working in the positive and not in the negative. And then lastly, be prepared to negotiate. This is like a big one. You got to practice it. You need to know when to walk away from offers that don't serve you. We're going to get into that. So just get a piece of paper, get a pen. Of course, you can always wash this again, so that'll work too. But we're going to talk about the very first thing, which is knowing your numbers. Let's just go ahead and call it. A lot of us work on the past. What was, what should be. We're assuming some things. I can't tell you how bad assumptions are. Okay, I can, but we're not going to get into that. What I really want to discuss is what we can do to get away from the assumptions. Number one, recognize your minimum. Now, with small business owners, what we tend to tell people to do is have their break-even number. Once they know their break-even number, then they can add on a little bit to bring home some profit. But if they have to get out of the bed, what do they have to bring home to put food on the table, keep the roof over their head, and keep gas in the car or whatever? Because you could be in, urban area and you're taking the subway. Who knows? Take care of your basic responsibilities is what we're saying. So a lot of us, we don't calculate what our true cost of living expenses are. We don't look at it. We know that we have like rent due or mortgage, and there's the light bill, the gas bill, there's water, whatever. But we don't calculate all the other stuff that goes into maintaining our lifestyle. There is no need to guess. There are plenty of resources out there to figure out your cost of living expenses. And that includes the minimums that you have to give to pay your debt, your student loan, put it into your 401k, your savings, your IRA, whatever. It includes all of that. What do you need to do? What's your target number to maintain your lifestyle? Okay. You got to know your minimum, like the least you could do, the least Now, this is where point two comes in because, as I said before, when I work with small business owners, we talk about what is your break even? Like, what's the minimum you have to bring in to keep the lights on? But then the second part is to add a little bit to bring home some profit. You don't want to just keep breaking even. That means you're at zero at all times. That would not be a good thing. We don't want to be at zero. We want to bring something home, right? So add enough for a true salary increase. Now, let me tell you about salary increases really quick, because as a former hiring manager dealing with budgets and things of that nature, I know some things. Okay, I know a lot, but I do know some things. First of all, it's not about the dollar amount. We can be easily swayed by, oh my God, that's so much more money. Not necessarily. Think percentage points. Everything looks great. It's like, oh, I got an extra $5 an hour. Okay, but what is that? That's just like a 2% increase, right? So you're not really bringing home that much money, like, not much more than you were before. So when you're looking at creating a little extra, right? You don't want to break even. You want to bring home some profit. Think about the percentage points. That's what you want to focus on. Because most of the salary budgets out there, there is a dollar amount, but it's a percentage of bigger budget for that department, for that company, for that store, whatever it is. So things are done in percentage points, not just the dollar amount. So start thinking the way that the employer thinks. Think percentage points. Lastly, realistic expectations. So you want to get a 5% increase from your last or current job, right? That's what you want. Okay. And 5% is not like, it's not breaking the bank. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I don't think it. When you start talking 10, 20, now we're really getting someplace. 30% increase, now we're really talking about something. But 5, 10 is like, okay. So be realistic. It is perfectly fine to ask for whatever your heart desires. Trust me, that's fine. However, whatever you ask for, you got to show up and make sure you have the background that says it. Now, some businesses, recruiters, whatever, will look at your salary history to kind of get an idea as to what is normal for you, but check it. Your salary history is your past, and your past does not determine your present, which means, and this is what you've always done. You've always done $10 an hour, $12 an hour. Okay, but now you have a certificate in a certain field. Now you have a degree in a certain field. Now you have this additional education, or you have additional knowledge of a topic, of an area. You have a specialty. That changes things. But this is where it comes to, you got to know some numbers, but then also recognize how people are operating on the other side of the table. They're thinking, well, you've never done $20 before. Yeah, but I didn't also have X, Y, and Z in my back pocket before either. Okay. So be realistic. If you're currently doing $12 an hour, it is realistic to get to 15, 16, maybe even $18 an hour. That's realistic, right? If you're doing $18 an hour, it's realistic to get up to like 25. Like, again, think percentage points, and also think about your own history. But if you have just gone through a certification program, you know what the base pay is for that particular job, then you can feel confident in saying, great, I know that I was only doing 15, but I now have XYZ experience. I now have blah, blah, blah certificate. The base for that would be 45, 50,000, whatever it is, right? So think about that when you are looking at being realistic with your numbers. Got to do a little bit of research. Don't just pull something out of the sky. And also just don't go with what everybody tells you, because numbers change. Requirements change, but think about it. Second part, we have to do the math. So the second part of this is to do the math. And I'm going to tell you a really quick story about myself and the things that I did. Trust, I was in a different place at a different time, so the decision made sense for me. I was living in Manhattan. I had a job. It was okay, but I quickly outgrew the job and just didn't even like the environment. So I decided to leave that job. I left it to go work at another spot in White Plains, New York. Now, White Plains is not a hop, skip, and jump from New York City. I had to get on the subway to get to Metro North, take a train out to White Plains, and then either walk to the job destination, do a gypsy cab or carpool. Okay, so any one of those. So when I was working out, I was working at a negative, not a positive. I was losing money every time I went to work. Okay, so when we talk about the cost of one day's work, you got to add into that. How much are you truly paying? Now, get it. You're trading your labor for a paycheck. That is true. But how much are you trading? Whether you're working a hybrid situation, you're working in the office, you're commuting, you got to ask yourself, how much does one day's work cost me? Both in time, gas, toll, all of it. Like you have to ask yourself that. Because if you have this great job that's giving you great money, but you spend 2 hours each way going to that job, and you have to pay tolls, and you have to do XYZ, then it starts adding up. So, like, what's the true cost of it? Not just, oh, I have this salary, because that sounds great, but salary is what is before they take your taxes out, your insurance, and all that other stuff. Again, what are you really bringing home? So, do that math. Understand how much one day's work actually costs you. Think also about the work-life balance. Like I said, you got this amazing job, but you pay in time, 4 hours going to work, 2 hours going and 2 hours coming back. And sometimes, depending on the time of day, that 2 hours coming back could be more like 3. That's 5 hours of your day, plus the 8 hours you've been at work, more like 9, truly, because there's an hour lunch in there probably. That's like your entire day. Now, for some of us, it may be okay. It all depends on where you're working. It really all depends on what you're doing, what you want. But do your work-life balance. Because maybe working remotely is great. You're like, oh, I don't have to do much. But a lot of us, and myself included, I found myself working more hours when I was remote in my previous job than working less because I'm not traveling. It's just up the hallway. What's the big deal? Right? That 15 minutes now becomes a whole extra hour of work. So does this new job, will it impact your volunteer efforts? Will you have to be on call on certain times? Right? What's the vacation look like? Like, look at all of those things. But do the work-life balance cost? Look at that too. And that last one is think about the potential for future growth. Like, what's the potential of growing your career and then also your salary? Now, I'm going to say it again, realistic expectations. I have met people who want to come in and within 6 months, they want to be a CEO. I'm going to tell you right now, depending on where you are, that's probably a no. Sometimes we have these expectations about how things should work in our favor, and we completely are oblivious to all the other factors happening around us, i.e., that if we are working with other great people, those other great people are going for the same job that you're going for. Hello? You're not the only great person in the world. So let's go back to that. What is the potential for growing your career? Now, I was at my job, my first retail job, for 25 years and 8 months. Clearly, times have changed. I don't know if anybody will ever get to be at a job for 30 or something years anymore. I just don't know if that happens because the way we work has changed. The environment has changed, management, and a whole bunch of other stuff. For some of us, being someplace 5 years is long enough, depending on what it is. Maybe you're a freelancer, so you change jobs every 3 to 5 years, every 2 to 3 years, whatever it is. Look at your industry and to see what's necessary, but also think about where you want to go, not where someone else believes you should be. Because maybe you're like, you know what, for what I'm doing, I don't really care. I can stay here for 10 years. It don't bother me none. But consider that. If you're looking for something, if you want to be on a fast track, then be sure that you speak about the fast track during your job hunt process. Because if they don't have a fast track, then that's not where you want to be, right? This is all part of your calculations. And think about your salary too. Because if someone says, and we're going to talk about this next, if someone says, oh, I can only offer you this, what does that mean for me growing my salary? Because if you can't offer it now, will it be offered in the future? And if it's not going to be offered in the future, then maybe I should just go ahead and go some other place. Like, talk about that. And here we are. Let's talk about negotiating, because although it seems as if the employer has all the power, that would be a lie. This is a two-way street, right? This is a market and there are sellers. And as a person who is looking for a job, you are selling your services. And they, as an employer, they are selling them as the place to work. Okay. So it's a two-way street. This is, I'm going to trade XYZ for some greenbacks. If you go into this situation assuming that the employer has the upper hand, you're already at a loss, because that is not the case, right? You have to change our mindset. So first things first is be picky. Now, people will tell you take the first offer you get because you just don't want to keep looking for a job, but have something, do something. I'm going to tell you I personally would not do it. When I advise people, I advise them not to do it. Two things. One, I believe it puts out bad juju. I think you get bad karma from just screwing other people over. Keep this in mind. Employers are spending money to bring people in. When you waste somebody's time and money, trust that will come back to you. And the world is far smaller than we realize. People talk. You know how they talk about 6 degrees of separation? It's really more like 2 degrees of separation. So when you start just jumping from place to place and bouncing, you leave carnage and people talk, and you'll be surprised how people know other people. So if the job is not for you, just say no. Don't waste someone's time. Don't waste their money. Just say no. It's so much easier that way. Trust me. The second part is you want to be prepared to counter. Now, this is the part we're talking about. Do not fall for this is the max that we can give you. And trust. I have done the speech, but I don't. Just say don't. I never did it with the idea that I didn't have room to move. I know I had room to move. I know my salary. But I also knew that when someone came to me and said, I have to make $30 an hour and the job I'm hiring for is part-time, I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Like, I know I can't get that. Because again, I'm thinking percentage points. I can go up a little bit, but I can't jump up to $30 an hour. Like, that's not going to happen. But a lot of people will easily go with, well, the max on this is $20 an hour. You can't do more than that. Be prepared to do your counter. Quickly run your numbers. And quickly doesn't mean in that moment. Quickly could mean, hey, can I have like a day to sort of like go over this offer and run some numbers? Because I know I have to make at least 24, 25, 26, right? Like I know I have to do that. But when we talk about being prepared to negotiate, and it's a two-way street, these two work hand in hand. So let's take that example of I can only give you XYZ. I can't do more than that. If that is the case, the very next thing you should do, and I tell this to my clients, you should start asking about, well, what's the potential for growth? Because if you can't give me, let's just say $22 an hour right now, because your max is 20, then what does that look like in terms of salary increases? I mean, are we talking like 50 cents? Are we talking like 2, 3, 5, 10%? Like, what does that look like? Because now I have to say to myself, if you can't pay me my worth now, what does the future look like? Like, how does that work for me? This is what we need to do as employees when we're at the table. You got to negotiate. Now, people will talk about, we don't need to hire you. We can hire anybody. That would be lies. First of all, most employers don't want slackers on the job because they cost too much money. It's a waste of money to bring in somebody who don't want to work. So no, they will not just hire anybody. And for those who have tried to hire the cheap labor, yeah, again, it is a costly mistake. Trust. Never done it myself. Now I've had some bad hires, but I've never gone cheap. I know better. So you have to go in knowing that this is a relationship. It's a working relationship. I am offering you my services to do this. But if you do the math right and you understand how to negotiate, because there is an art to negotiating, then you can come out on top. Or maybe they really just can't match what you need and you're going to have to walk away. It's one of those two. But don't feel as if you must accept everything that comes your way and you're never going to get anything better. Those are lies. I'll tell you that. Those are lies. So how can a career coach help? First of all, we work on that mindset. And we work on the mindset with everybody, but truly, there is a shift in understanding the power that you have as an employee. When you start operating with a business mindset, it will change how you walk, talk, and how you operate in the workplace. So a career coach can aid you in determining your worth, focusing on your best competencies, and of course, promoting your genius. There's a way to do that stuff. We also talk about that act of negotiating. There is an art to it, right? And we focus on learning how to network efficiently. A lot of times it's not what you know, but who you know. I don't want to say it's a game that has to be played, but there are some times when you got to maneuver specifically to get what you want. Nothing that would, of course, put your integrity at risk. Trust that we don't do. But we do understand how to work with other humans and negotiate and network. So your career coach can also lead you on a path that helps you operate in your purpose. And again, we work on developing that growth mindset. We work on that. There's a way to do it differently, and it takes work. Please don't think that this is going to happen overnight, because that would be no. You put in the work, you'll see the differences for sure. But a career coach can do that for you. So I'm going to wrap this up with a couple of things. We have more of these career-focused conversations happening this month, going into October. And September is always a great month to sort of look at your resume, look at your LinkedIn profile, look at where you want to go, because we're just months away from a new year. But this is fall. Fall is fresh. People talk about spring cleaning. Fall is getting things together, and it's time for a refresh on all the things, right? So we hope that you join us in the future for more of these career-focused conversations. We're going to dive deeper into some other factors that will help you find the job that you want and the salary that you also need and deserve. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Until then, enjoy your day.